All right, everybody. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to OneObjective. James, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. Guys, we got a great show lined up for tonight. It is slam-packed, so you're going to kind of have to be with us on maybe the show being jumbled around a little bit. I don't know. But it's a special show today. It's history-making show today because we got Casey Reeves on. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well, man. How about you?
Oh, man, this is awesome. It's awesome to have you in studio with us. I mean, this is like I say, this is history making. Now we got in studio guests, so we're moving up in the world, James.
Oh, I know.
Now we just need to get it to where we'll get you in here sometimes. But I want you sitting right beside me when we do it.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way.
But guys, we really do. We got a really great show lined up. We got Nathan Green on. He's a good old Virginia boy. He fishes Casey's kayak tournament trail, Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge with us. He's really progressed over the last, well, I guess, year or so or more. He's been putting some time in on the water.
Yeah, he's definitely been out there putting in the time. I've seen him. I mean, all this past year he's making trips, going every weekend. He's fishing somewhere and, fishing hard. And that's really what it takes to learn as an angler and to grow as an angler.
Yeah. So he's putting the time in. We're going to have him on. We're going to talk about how he was able to win down there at Chickamauga and the first. I don't know if it was the first Hobie that they've done. They did a series last year too, right?
It wasn't really a series last year. It was more. I think they had. I know they do the event on Kentucky Lake, and they may have another event, but it's a full blown series this year.
Yeah.
So
he was the first winner of that. I mean, me and James and Casey, everybody from Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge, we was all pulling for him, watching him come up both days there. So. But then we're going to have, I know most kayakers know Greg Blanchard. He's from California. He's got a big YouTube following. We're going to have him on tonight, and we're going to be talking about just, growing your brand, building your brand, talking social media, mainly YouTube when I say social media, mainly YouTube and what it takes growing that, and then just talking fishing, kayak fishing, what got him into it. So it's going to be a good show. I'm really excited about it. But we're going to have Casey on tonight to be talking about if you're just getting into kayak tournaments or if you've been in kayak tournaments for a while. I mean, Casey, there's a lot of people make mistakes. There's a lot of questions about it, So we're going to be going over with you just kind of new people that are listening. If anybody's got any questions, guys, if you got any questions from Chris, are we having issues with the chat box coming up? You just got to do it on YouTube? Okay, all right. So what's that? Oh, okay. Okay, all right, yeah, so Chris will be on there. He'll be kind of managing the questions and stuff like that. So for some reason it's not popping up tonight. But so if you got any questions for Casey or Nathan or Greg, make sure you get them into us. So, Casey, let's talk about, you know what, before I get into that, let's thank all our sponsors. Before I go too much further, we got some really great sponsors this year. We've picked up a couple new ones this year. We're working on some other things coming out. But, guys, you scroll down to the bottom, you can see links to all our sponsors. The two new ones we got is Bino Power and Hookfish Performance. They're making our jerseys for us. They should be here hopefully before National Championship. That's what we're hoping. So they said they will be, so I know they'll be here. We got some special things coming out for our kayaks and for our wraps and stuff like that, which I know some of y'all probably seen on Instagram. We ain't really posted it much yet, but the people that are doing it did. But they look really amazing. Getting excited about that. But like I say, go check out all the sponsors. You can see them flashing through on there. Go down, click the links below. Also, YOLO Tech, if you're interested in filming while you're out fishing and you're getting tired of, your GoPro batteries going dead, you got a bass boat. Chris is laughing at me about batteries. But you can go in, use this thing. It comes with everything you need when you buy it on there. If you buy the whole kit, then you can film your whole trip and not worry about messing with a camera anymore, So got a link there. Click that. But other than that, Casey, so we got the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge starting up here soon in April. I think it's towards the end of April.
Yep, towards the end of April, April 27th. We have our first event on Lake Anna, and that's also a KBF trail event, which we're pretty pumped on, especially with the turnout at the first the first 2 KBF trail events on the season, 2 weekends ago, last weekend.
Yeah.
I can't remember when it was, but they had 125 anglers at that event, which is pretty huge, down at Santee Cooper. So so we're expecting to hopefully be at least close to 100 anglers on Lake Anna on the 27th.
And with Santee Cooper, you had a good finish. You had a 5th place finish down there.
Yeah. It was a grind, but ended up catching a few key fish that I needed kind of last minute, and ended up taking home a check. So
well, congratulations to you on that, because that's a big feat. And you got 120 some anglers, you know, in a big body of water like that. That it's not your home body. You don't, it's a different fishery than what we fish around here.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot different.
Yeah,
I struggled the first time fishing on it, really bad, and I went down about a month ago and did a little practice on it and got a little more comfortable with where I was going to fish.
Congratulations to you on that, because that's a big feat. You got 120 some anglers.
Where'd that come from? I don't know where that come from. That was weird. But anyways, but yeah, that was a totally different event. I really wished I had the opportunity to fish that. I love that kind of fishing. You know what I mean? Like that shallow water fishing, cypress trees. You got everything. And that's what we're excited about Louisiana coming up, because it's kind of the same stuff.
It'll be very similar to that, from my understanding.
Yeah. So. But like I say, we got Lake Anna coming up towards would you say April 22nd?
27th. Yeah.
Oh, 27th. I'm sorry. Yeah. And which I think is going to be a great event. I think it's going to be a fun event, because you're getting at a time where the fish are on beds, or someone's pulling off beds there. Lake Anna's kind of a little different up there, especially because that's the cold side that we'll be fishing. So, but let's kind of talk a little bit about get into the tournament series. So who do they need to contact to even get with you to fish the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge?
So basically, the first place I like people to start is our Facebook page, Virginia Kayak, or it's a Facebook group actually, but Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge. If you just search it on Facebook, it'll pull up and you can start there. All the information always gets posted there as it comes in for each event. The specifics as far as where the location for the event is, what day, the body of water, and all that good stuff. So that's usually the first place I like people to start. All of our events are ran on a tournament management system called TourneyX, and basically that is a leaderboard that you upload your fish to, and it kind of keeps track of everything as you're uploading the fish. So on the tournament day, you upload your fish, and everything will get shown on the leaderboard there at almost in real time. So,
yeah.
But,
and TourneyX is free. I mean, you can do the paid membership. That's where they kind of keep track of your stats and all that. But just kind of getting into it, TourneyX is free. You just sign up to your email, all that, and then if you have any issues, you have their email address. You send it through. You know what I mean? So say you got to DQ a fish, it comes back through on your email.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, you're gonna create a free account on TourneyX. You can either, you can find the link through our Facebook page to our tournaments, or you can just search through TourneyX and find other tournaments as well. But yeah, you can use the search function on there once you get your account. You register and pay through TourneyX for our tournaments. Then the tournament page will have the rules and all that, everything, kind of all the details for that event listed out, so you can go on there and see all that, as well as on the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge page.
Yeah.
And then kind of once the tournament starts, the identifier is released, the identifier code. You'll be able to get the identifier through TourneyX as well, and basically it's just a card that you'll print out, write your code on it, and that's just to make sure everybody's, not doing any funny stuff and submitting old fish, and those fish are caught after that identifier was released on the day of the tournament.
Now, on those, everybody has their own special identifier code, right?
Yes, for the most part. For our events, they do. That's not true for every single event that there is, but yeah. Tourney X has a unique angler identifier code, which as soon as you register and the tournament starts, that code is available to you. And then that's the code you'll write on the identifier card and have in every fish submission.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Now that tournament morning, I know you've been. I don't know if you're going to do it this year or not. You were just talking about the other day. Are you still going to do an angler meeting in the morning, trying to, new people coming in, kind of understanding what's going on, rule wise, or?
Kind of trying to move away from that, but we probably will have something available if people want to take it. I know last year there was very few people that did come to it since we stopped making it a mandatory thing. Not having the meeting just allows anglers to, have a few extra moments in the morning, don't have to wake up quite as early, get to the place, and then drive to where they're going to fish. They can just, wake up and go to where they're going to fish.
Yeah.
And like I said, everything's available online for them, so they can get the identifier code. They can pre-print the identifiers out. And so, as soon as they wake up, they're basically, they go to Tourney X, get their code, and they're ready to roll that morning. They just go straight to where they're fishing.
Now, the cool part about, and James, I know you can relate to this because it's helped us out a lot, and it took us a little bit at first, but the cool part about the in-person events, now the month-long events, we all know you can go pretty much fish anywhere you want. That is a public body of water and a public access, shall I say. But the cool part about these is you can still put anywhere you want to within, 25 miles? Or
well, yeah, for the most part, we've adopted the KBF rules fully on everything. So it's on that body of water as long as you can access it from the main body of water. So, you can't, if there's anything obstructing the way, as far as like a dam or anything like that, you can't cross that. But yeah, you can go up the creeks as far as you can navigate in a boat. You can put in there.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So that, James, I know that's helped us out a lot. You know what I mean? We've on and lines in depending on the daylight saving times and what part we're at. But lines in are between 6:30. You can get to your spot and just kind of wait it out. You know what I mean? Or put in and start fishing. And so that way you got time to kind of get your stuff ready. Now, when you do the in-person meetings, they are fun, especially if you've never fished any events. You got questions for Casey. It's easy to kind of get some questions out the way. But, before the event, it's always good to have all that cleared up anyways, So if they got any questions, they can message you on Facebook and all that. But it's just coming from a bass boat side of things. Everybody launches out of the same spot, Yeah. There's live well checks and everything. Everybody launches out of the same spot. But the cool part is, and I get this question a lot, is especially guys that don't understand kayak fishing, because it took me a little while to understand it too, is how do you get somebody for not cheating? You know what I mean? When it comes to, but people don't understand, you got to have your GPS on your phone when that picture's taken. So it marks your time and location where that fish. But only you, the tournament director, can see it.
The tournament director is that can have access to that.
Yeah. So like, I can't go see where everybody else is catching them, but like Casey can see where everybody, when he's a tournament director, see what everybody's doing. So for people that kind of have that question on cheating wise, you got to have your GPS on. That way he can kind of see location. That way some dude ain't going to a farm pond catching a bunch of fish saying he was catching them on the river or the lake or wherever, and then submitting fish.
Yep.
And then also start time. He can't submit no fish really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Before
that time. So. So I think that's a really neat feature. It kind of takes that edge off of it, that knowing that you can go back and check your times and your photos are time stamped and GPS. So
yeah, and there's been people to cheat throughout the years, and KBF's done a really good job at making certain rules to kind of hinder that. And we pretty much know all of the ways that people can cheat, so there's rules on to hinder them from doing that. So it definitely helps a lot. And like Chad always says, we don't like to go into a lot of details about the different ways people can cheat, just because
You don't want to put it in people's mind.
Yeah, you don't want to put it in anybody's mind. But
Yeah.
But we definitely know, and we know what to look for when we see that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. Which, there's been issues with boards and this and that, but it's a lot of ways of checking that now and seeing what people, from that whole debacle that happened several years ago, with the whole board issue. But, James, you got anything for Casey or anything you'd like to add in before we go much further?
I think that going over how you're supposed to hold the fish and everything like that would be a good thing for everybody to know.
Yeah.
You know how to hold them down, not to cover the eye, don't go underneath the gill plate.
Yeah,
where you got to put your hands and stuff at.
Well, let's kind of covering that. Let me ask you this first, because this will kind of answer some of the questions that James has. Is what are some of the biggest infractions you see when it comes to people having to get deducted on inches?
Let's see. Some of the biggest ones, I guess, are there's been a few different rule changes in the past 2 years. The touching the tail, that's no longer allowed. The actual fin of the tail, I still see quite a few people doing that, and that's an actual that will get your fish denied if you're touching the tail of the fish.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one I see quite a bit because, like I said, it is a newer thing, and people pinching the tail, and like I said, that's just not allowed anymore.
So it's got to be natural state. Now, I have caught fish before when you put them on there, and they'll pull the tail up.
Well, it can be in a pinched position.
Just can't hold it there.
You just can't be actively pinching the tail.
I got you.
I'd say that and the mouth open. Sometimes you get a fish that wants to fight you, and it can be hard to get their mouth shut a lot of times, especially some of the smallmouth. I really have issues with those.
Yeah.
And to get their mouth shut and get a good picture is very difficult. But KBF had a rule change this year and then went back on it. So the mouth is allowed to be open 1/4 of an inch without getting penalized. If it's a 1/4 of an inch or more, you get I believe it's an inch deduction.
Yeah.
From your submission, and that's just kind of to keep it standard. Most like in Virginia, to get a trophy fish, like if you submit it to VDGIF to get a trophy fish, mouth has to be closed and you can't be pinching the tail. Or no, I'm sorry, you can be pinching the tail, but the mouth needs to be closed. So I kind of like that mouth closed rule.
Yeah.
Because of that. So.
And you can do it. There's several ways you can kind of put your hand on the fish and push them up towards the board. Kind of helps close the mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
I see people, man, they don't even hold their hand on a fish. And I'm going to tell you what, I've lost way too many fish just holding my hand on there sometimes, much less, not doing it. But, James, what was the one that you got last year with that big monster you caught down there? Casey caught you on it, didn't he?
Yeah, it was under the gill plate. I mean, it was – I did it. I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah.
So –
And that's
a deny too.
That's a deny fish, yeah.
And like that rule, a lot of the rules are to help, not do any harm to the bass.
Yeah.
And that would be kind of one that is in that category. So.
Yeah, because the gill plate's that's the main deal right there.
Yeah.
If that gets hurt, the fish is done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And like you say. It was an accident. It was nothing purposely done,
Yeah, I wasn't holding it by the gill plate or nothing, but still, I understand the rule.
Yeah, sometimes.
It is what it is.
Sometimes.
I still got some good pictures though.
That's right. It's a big fish.
Just not to be holding it.
Yeah.
The right way on the board.
We got a question, Chris?
No, there's a few people saying that the stream is real staticky. I think a lot of it's got to do with his headset because it's not really that great of a headset.
Yeah.
Nothing really I can do about it right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, we'll try to make some. You might be able to kind of adjust the gain on it a little bit. I don't know. Try to see what you can do.
Yeah, I cut James down a little bit because they said he was too loud. So
okay.
I haven't heard anybody say nothing about it. So I guess maybe
yeah, we're working through. Like I say, this is history making.
We'll eventually have a soundboard and another mic like that.
Yeah. It's just trying to work through everything, and it's crazy. It's crazy just to get to the point we are right now today. Okay. All right. Static's gone. All right.
Whatever I did fixed it.
All right. Well, good job, you buddy.
Thank you.
We
That's
thank you,
what you
Chris,
pay
for all
him the
that you
big
do.
bucks for, right?
Yeah, get it, Chris.
But you know, kind of like what happened with James, I've always learned it's good practice to take a couple pictures, and before you release that fish, check over your pictures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make sure your identifier's in there.
Yep.
Make sure your numbers are read good, because in the heat of the moment, you get excited, you catch a fish, sometimes even a 12-inch fish. You ain't caught nothing all daggone day. You catch a 12-inch fish, you're ready to hurry up and take a picture and get them back in the water.
Yeah.
And I always think it's good to hold on to them, put them on your fish grip. And that's another big key thing when it comes to we'll get into that a little while for some tips on taking pictures. But just going over your pictures. I take 4 pictures most of the time, 3 or 4 pictures. I'll go through, I like the best one, and I'll delete the other ones,
Yeah.
you know. But just to make sure the tail's right, your numbers are read good. I've done some pictures at nighttime where I thought looked fine, but when you got them, I think you either denied it or deducted or something because it was a bad glare. You know, you can't at nighttime. It's different because you got the flash on the camera, and
Yeah.
so
At night, kind of the same. Your flash kind of the same as the sun, but it can cause a real bad glare on the board. Sometimes you won't be able to see certain lines on the board to make sure that tail is crossing them, and you won't be able to. Sometimes the glare on your identifier will cause you not to be able to read the numbers on the identifier. So yeah, that's the big thing is when you take that picture, yeah, like you said, take multiple pictures. You know, try to turn, if you got a real bad glare, turn your kayak a little bit. Try to go over into some shade and try to get rid of that glare. And
Yeah.
then after you take your pictures, go back through them and make sure you got the whole fish in the picture. Nothing's like blocking the fish. And you know, you can read everything, the numbers on the board and as well as the numbers on your identifier.
yeah. Chris, you say we got a question?
Yeah, it's 20 after. And Ricky wants to know, do you guys prefer to have your ID tag on your hand or on the board?
Well, I don't know, I'm not sure what he's referring to, but I know some tournaments allow you to actually write your ID number on
Yeah.
your hand.
That's what I like.
We don't do that. We use an actual identifier card.
Mm-hmm.
So you can place that card on top of your hand. It just cannot be on top of the fish. If it's anywhere in that picture, and it can't be blocking the fish. So you can't just be holding it up in front of the camera, you know, blocking portions of that fish. But your hand is allowed to be on the fish, and that identifier card can be placed on your hand as well.
Yeah. Now I'm the same way, and like say certain tournaments you can't do it, but I like writing it on my hand with the Sharpie. Bob's Up the Creek Outfitters tournament was like that. He didn't really have an identifier card as long as you had your number. But like Casey's event, in the KBF event, I actually a lot of times I'm fishing yours and a KBF event. I actually have a little tackle box that I place down on my dry pod, and I got them inside of it. So if it rains, they don't get wet.
Yeah.
And you can see them. And another cool thing, too, if you got sponsors, hey, man, put your sponsor stickers on there. You know what I mean? So when they take a picture, people – because I go through and look at other people's pictures, just kind of see what kind of fish they got. It kind of opens it up, you know, and you can see, you know, your sponsors or whatever on there. I
Yeah,
don't know. It's just
that's really the biggest thing I think for using the actual identifier card is because the people running these tournaments want to be able to have their sponsors' logos in all those pictures, you know, because people are sharing their own pictures on Facebook as well on Tourney X on the leaderboard and everything. So tons of people are getting to see that, and that's a lot of exposure for their sponsors. So.
Yep. And you know, if you you share your own picture on Facebook, how you did, and all your fish pictures, they can see that you fished the KBF event or the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge or whatever.
Yep.
So, Chris, you want to go ahead and get Nathan Green on, and we'll get that set up, but I'll talk with we'll talk a little bit more about the boards. What is your preferred board? I know there's several boards out there. Only a couple of them are legal. What is your preferred board, the all-around best board to use?
I don't think there's an all-around best board. Everybody will tell you something different, but the 3 measuring boards that KBF allows and also Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge are the catch board, the hog trough, and then the fish stick from Yak Gear. I just use a hog trough. I've definitely broken a lot of them. The catch board is kind of, it's built out of like heavy duty aluminum, so it's not going to break, but it is really heavy. And I'm not a big fan of the sizes that they have available at the moment. They have a 26-inch board, which granted I've never caught a 26-inch fish, but I feel that 30-inch board for a measuring board for a bass tournament is key, because you never know when you're going to catch that bass of a lifetime, and you don't want to have a 26-inch board to miss
that's all you got.
But no, I mean they're all good boards, and they all have their benefits and stuff.
Yeah. Got you. Well, we got Nathan Green on. Nathan, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, doing pretty good. You hear me okay?
Yeah. You sound pretty good now. How you been, man? You been doing any more fishing since you won that big check?
Not yet, I haven't. I've got a big weekend planned next weekend, though, so I'll be hitting the water hard.
I got you. Well, first off, man, we want to congratulate you. We got the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge crew on.
Yeah, I know.
So we got Casey in the house. This is a history-making day, and you're part of it, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm a big fan anyway. I'm always watching every night or every Sunday night I can. So
I really appreciate
glad to be part of it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome to have you on, man. We was pulling for you. We was keeping up with it, and I was just like, man, Nathan's got a really, the third day, I was like, man, he's got a really good chance at winning this thing. And on the last day, you just run away with it. I mean, did you even think you had a chance? Kind of, after you started catching on fish, did you think that it was going to turn out like it did?
Not the first day. The second day, about noon, is when I thought, hey, I'm going to get in the top three probably, because I was looking, as I was submitting fish, I was looking at who was behind me, and already knew that, a whole lot of the field didn't get a limit the first day. Mm-hmm. So when I had caught my third fish, I think I was already at close to 60 inches at that point, I think, or 50. But I was already pretty much in a solid second place with just 3 fish. And I kept thinking, one more good solid fish and then a limit of any kind is going to get me in first. And I don't know if I could hang on to first, but I knew I'd maybe either first or second, most likely, but anything could happen out there. But the quality of fish that I was rolling in a boat, I was like, well, who else is out there is doing that right now? And I was looking at what other people were submitting and just waiting, watching the clock and going, all right, I still have a pretty good lead. And I kept upgrading all through the afternoon. And honestly, I hated to leave at 2 o'clock. I could have stayed there all night.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seemed like it was a tough conditions, just, with the wind and the rising water. I mean, was the fish pulling up shallower for you as the water was rising, or was you kind of having to still fish the water column that you was fishing before?
Well, I never really did fish a deep water column. Thursday, my first day of pre-fishing, I was catching on about 8 feet. Maybe 8 was probably about where I was catching them. And then I didn't catch anything the second day of pre-fishing, but that was sort of by design. I had a lot of confidence in the first spot I went to on Thursday, and Friday was more of I want to get a whole look at this lake, and I went way down lake to look at some spots just to sort of get a feel what else is out there. Didn't really catch anything, but based on where I was catching fish on Thursday, it didn't surprise me that I didn't catch anything there on Friday. So Thursday Saturday rather, when I went back, the lake had already risen a good 4 feet since Thursday, and I was catching them in about 2 feet of water at that point.
Yeah. So they were coming up. The fish were.
They were.
Yeah. Were you kind of more towards the back of the creeks on it? You might have said that. I can't remember. Was you more towards the back of the creeks on there?
Yeah. Backs of creeks, some pockets. You know, what was really catching fish was flooded rock, flooded stumps, and flooded brush that weren't. Well, obviously they're flooded, so they weren't in the water before.
Yeah.
So if you could find anything different that was on the shoreline that wasn't part of the lake 2 days before, that's where the fish are holding.
I got you.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's that chatterbait is like the biggest thing right now. You know what I mean? The evergreen, and that's pretty much was your key bait that whole event, right? I mean, it was something else too that you had. What was the other bait that you had that was kind of doing it for you?
So I was catching fish on 3 different lures. The big fish, all 3 big ones came on the jackhammer, and then a couple rolled in on a War Eagle with a Kite trailer, and my mind blanked on me during the ceremony, the award ceremony, but I had a War Eagle black and blue jig that I was pitching in the cover. And that one got me 1, but that one ended up getting upgraded. But I'd say 2/3 of the fish that got posted were probably on the jackhammer.
Mm.
What was kind of your setup when it come to that throwing the jackhammer?
I go against conventional wisdom, and I throw it on the heaviest tackle possible. So I'll throw it on a Dobbins 75 SB with I've got 80-pound braid on a 20-pound mono leader and an 8.5 gear ratio Corrado.
Oh wow, yeah. So you're going big. Go big, go home.
Yeah, I mean it's the thing about kayak angling is it's all about compromise. You know, you can't. If I had a nice bass boat, I would probably have 30 rods on that boat, but or maybe even more probably.
Would.
About 6 is as much as I can carry on my kayak and feel comfortable with my setup. So, you have rods that have dual purposes. So that rod is also what I throw, use for an A-rig. I use it for big swim baits, glide baits. I don't think I've thrown anything else on it, but the chatterbait is such a unique lure, and fish hit it in such a unique way, and they're usually going to be good fish. So I'll pretty much use that sort of like how a muskie fish, a big, heavy, fast action rod. You jack them hard and you grind them in. I don't play them out. I don't fight them. I get them in a boat as quick as possible, control their head, and just get them in a net. The big thing about chatterbaits is being able to take up line quick. And a long, fast action rod and a high speed reel do that.
Now, do you have to make yourself kind of slow down? You got an 8-to-1 gear ratio. You kind of, you can't go out there and burn it. You know what I mean? So do you kind of make yourself slow down? I mean, that's tough to do, especially when you start jacking fish.
I actually make the point when I'm retrieving a chatterbait, never make the same retrieve twice.
I got you.
So sometimes I'm burning it. In fact, the 20 I caught, I was burning it. I had it probably waking just enough on the surface to get the action out of it, and it came out from under the water like a killer whale.
Oh, God.
That was pretty awesome. In fact, what happened with that is it was a rock ledge that I was working that was exposed on Thursday that ended up being about 8 feet under the water. on Sunday, and I was fishing the edge of it that was closest to the bank, and I missed a big fish that day. And what I had been doing was every time I'd miss a fish, either with the jackhammer, I'd follow up with that war eagle, and whenever I miss a fish with the war eagle, I would follow up with the jackhammer. And it was just weird. I'm like, I'm just going to throw right back with the jackhammer this time. And instead of slow rolling it, I just burned it, and that fish came out from middle of nowhere. I mean, it even in that nasty, soupy mud water, watching that fish come up after that lure, I was like, oh man, that I wish I had a GoPro on at that point.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Casey, you got any questions for Nathan? I mean, I don't put you on the spot here, but you got any things you like to ask him about his win down there?
I just kind of wanted to know, and you kind of went over it, but so how many fish were you catching on both days? Like, were you were just catching them kind of all day, or like?
Yeah. So on Saturday, I caught my first fish really early. I think 7:45, 8 o'clock. And then I hit a lull, and then once the heavy rain came, that's when I caught the big 22. I mean, the 22 I caught, it couldn't rain any harder. And it was about 2 casts later, I hooked a monster, lost it. That's the one I think was probably going 15. And about 2 other casts later, I tail hooked a 20-pound carp that drug me all over the lake. And the funny thing, when I tail hooked the carp, I didn't know it was a carp at the time. The water was so soupy, muddy that I just figured I could have hooked into the new Tennessee state record.
Yeah.
But there was about a 2-hour window on Saturday that fish were feeding really, really hard. Sunday was different. When I got onto my spot on Sunday, the water was 3 or 4 degrees cooler than Saturday. And I had to wait for the water to warm up till about 49 degrees. So I was getting 46.8, 47-ish when I first got out there. And then at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I think, is when the water hit 49. And at that point, the fish started biting, and they didn't stop. I mean, I was in fish all day. It was pretty incredible. I ended up catching 30, I think, on Sunday. Not all of them were 12 inches, but I caught a pile of 11s, and I had a hard time upgrading, getting past the 14s. I caught a pile of 14s in like a hour-and-a-half window. The fish were getting into that cove.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they were kind of getting to that point to start pulling up the spawn. Plus, the flooding just pulls them up even more. So,
yeah,
yeah, they were getting ready to do the water temperature still ain't there, but they're getting ready to start feeding up to do the deed there. So, but I'm gonna turn it over to James here because he's gonna cover what was key for you. What you talked about was map study.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it over to James and let James kind of do our in-depth segment here on how important map study is when it comes to part of your pre-fishing planning.
All right. Yeah. First thing, I had a question. What type of trailers do you use on the back of your chatterbaits?
A ton of different trailers.
Tons of different?
Yeah. In fact, I had changed. I used 3 different trailers over the week. I was first throwing the trailer, the Yamamoto Zaco on the chatterbait, and then I changed over to a Zoom Fluke, and then finished up with the Z-Man Razor Shads.
Yeah. It seems to be the go-to baits for it anyway.
Yeah. And it just, what I really liked about the Fluke at the time was the dark color, and had a little bit more of a subtle action on Saturday, and it looked like it had a really good profile going through the water, and I picked a good profile going through the water over action, and you know, I don't know if that made any difference or not, but I tinker with trailers all the time. You know, when I say that I retrieve it different every time, I put trailers on every time. I mean, everything from hula grubs to single-tail grubs, crawfish. I mean, I'll put Cincos on the back of trailers for catfish.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for going over that for me. So what's the first things you start looking at when you're getting into doing your map study?
My mind works kind of funny. It's sort of like a mad chaos when I'm like looking. There's like no really order to it, but sort of what I do is look at the map from a wide angle view and look at the lake or the body of water and just get a general feel for it. And then as the tournament day starts or the time I go out there, start narrowing my focus. But ultimately what I want to do is be able to know the whole body of water by memory by the time I get to it, to the point where I can, if I have to, sit down on a piece of paper and draw the lake by memory with all the ramps and roads around it. So, and that helps, because I could remember every little shallow water ledge, every little dock that I would come to, and I just started paying attention to the topography of the lake. Like a lot of the creeks that got flooded were because they originated in steep mountain land, versus some parts of the lake. You look at the watershed and it's fairly benign, and I knew that some of that fairly benign stuff wasn't going to have rushing water.
Mm-hmm. Huh. I don't know, like certain times of the year, you're going to be looking for different things on the map, just because of the way the fish are going to set up.
Yeah.
So I guess that all plays into the whole map study deal as well.
Yeah, every season's going to be different. So, but also keep in mind when you're trying to study a body of water using maps that it shouldn't be just for that day. Because you're going to go back there at some point, probably, and so it's good to be able to pull from that and build. Every time I go to a new body of water, or anytime I go out fishing for in general, it's what can I learn today?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so on any given body of water, I'm looking for something on that lake to learn. It's another file, if you will, that gets put back in my head of like, all right, even though that they're not on that today, at some point they're going to be on it. And floating a river when it's really low and clear, that's super important. The new river hasn't been clear in over a year, but a year and a half ago we were in like a little bit of a minor drought, and there were times where I was floating the river just looking down going, I had no idea that there was a rock of that size underneath the water. I could see the displacement, the shimmy on the water, but I had no idea of what was down there. And then I'm floating down, take a look at it, and I'm like, oh, so, there's going to be something big hiding in there at some point in some season. So, and I just, apply that to maps too. And like I said before, I'm a map junkie anyway. I mean, it's just, little things that stick out at me, even if it's fishing related, that sort of catches my eye.
Yeah, that's what me and Josh, we do a lot of that stuff. We've actually gone on Skype and done some map study together. You're like, hey, man, look at this and look at this. So, we actually did that was a couple weeks ago, really. And we're down there for the national championship. So I think map study plays a big role in fishing, because there's certain things that you can look for on maps that, that's where the fish are going to go look for old creeks and, the way the old rivers used to flow and everything like that.
Well, and another thing is just sort of looking at, okay, like if you see a field, chances are that creek that's coming to that field is going to be more muddy. But at the same time, if they've put fertilizer on that field, at certain times you're going to have probably more vegetation. And a lot of that just goes, to my forestry background. Because I use maps all the time, looking at different cover types, going, all right, is this piece of land going to have productive growing timber on it, or is it going to be pretty much infertile land? It's just sort of where my profession sort of intersects with fishing.
Cool.
Now,
Josh, did you have anything?
Yeah, well, you might have covered this, but how important it is to go over so many different maps. I mean, you got your paper maps, you got your GPS, your graphs, and then you got Google and Google Earth and Bing and all that. But do you still kind of use the same, like the paper topo maps, where it kind of gives you elevation? I don't understand them as much. You probably do more because you do it all the time. But do you use much of the paper maps when it comes to that?
I don't use any paper maps unless I generate them myself. So the program I use for work, called PC Cruise, I can go out and import the USGS topo quads and import that and overlay it on just about any aerial photo that I want, and I can get acreages, draw lines, measure them, just about anything I need to do.
Oh wow,
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and it's important too. Like we've talked about this in other shows, and with the Elite Pros and FLW Pros and everybody, how important it is when you use Google Maps and Bing Maps, because if you look at different ones, it's different times of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you can find spots where it's low water, and you can see a lot of points that jet out and all that, and then also you can kind of see too high water conditions or whatever, and kind of. I always use several different maps before I make my decision on a spot, Yeah.
And, there are a lot of maps out there that allow you to do that. You can, download them and import them in any sort of GIS program. You can go to the county that body of water's in and look at their online tax maps, and they'll usually have 3 or 4 years worth of aerial imagery that you can pull in and import that are pretty helpful.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I never really thought about that.
On Google Earth, I think you can do that as well. You can go back to different years from different satellite images as well.
Yeah, I have done that. When I fished a tournament in Philpott years ago, that's actually how I found a point that I loved to fish. It was like 7 years ago or something. It was when we had a drought and the lake was really low. I was able to find a point that actually helped me catch some fish to do well in the tournament. So it's key to be able to understand the tools that you have and make the best of them, So, but kind of getting into, all right, you qualified for the Hobie World.
Yeah.
You excited about that?
Yeah, I am. Kind of interested to hear where it's going to be held. It'd be pretty handy if it's here in America. That'd cut down on the cost. But,
yeah.
In the back of my mind, I'm hoping it's something like the Amazon where we can go after peacock bass. That would probably be, awesome. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it is, that would be pretty cool being able to kayak fish around peacocks. But, I guess we'll see where it is and see what my schedule's like and funds and stuff like that. And hopefully I can make it. I know I'm going to make it because, it's one of those experiences that if you don't do it, you're going to regret it.
Exactly. That's kind of a once in a lifetime trip for some. You know what I mean? You got some guys that make it several times, but to be your first time in the tournament, you win it, you know what I mean, to go to it. So do they help you with any of the costs, or do you still got to front it? It's just like your invitation to it.
I don't know. I haven't spoken with AJ about it, and I'll just sort of letting the dust settle. Considering they even haven't even gotten to this year's Worlds yet in Australia.
Yeah.
So I figure as the year progresses, I'll get a little bit better understanding. But AJ and the guys at Hobie, they work really hard to put these tournaments together, and they're busy as heck. So I don't want to bother them this early into it.
Oh yeah, I'd be burning their phone up. Hey man, I'm impatient as all anyway. James knows that. I'm ready when it hits something on me. I gotta go. But yeah, I understand. Everything's it's a crazy time. So, but is anybody you like to thank, Nathan, that helped you with this event, and any sponsors, anybody like that kind of just helped you out to get to where you're at right now?
Well, I don't have anybody sponsoring me, but as I've always said, if you go by lures, Sportsman's Warehouse in Roanoke, good place to go. And the people at Tangent Outfitters in Pembroke, they were the first place that I rented my first kayak from, and the place that I bought my first kayak from. So good people there. They always would say, "Hey Nate, take a kayak, go. Just bring it back," and they've always treated me well there. So I appreciate what they did.
That's awesome, man. James, you got anything else for him before we let Nathan go?
No, I just can't wait till we get to the first tournament so we can hang out and do some fishing.
Yeah, I know it's only been a week, but I'm ready for the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear you.
Casey, you got anything for Nathan for we?
Nah, man, I just want to say congratulations, man. That's a heck of a feat with a field of over 100 anglers, man, and it sounds like you were just absolutely smashing them. And yeah, just congratulations, man. And
yeah, appreciate it, and congrats on your top 5. That starting on your end that well right out of the gate, you got to feel pretty good too.
Yeah, I'm definitely pumped with the start, and pumped that we had quite a few Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge anglers at the tops of the leaderboards that weekend. So hopefully we can all keep it up throughout the year and keep cashing some checks.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, Nathan, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you being a fan of the show and tuning in when you do. We see that you tune in right often when you can. So and we get messages from you, and we really do appreciate your support and appreciate you coming on tonight.
I appreciate being on here. You've got a killer guest lineup every week, and I can't not hang out and watch and ask questions.
Yeah. It's gotten really good, and we're excited about the rest of this year and things we got planned out. So I think it's just going to get even better with our lineup. So, but like I said, I appreciate it, and hey man, good luck to you the rest of this year, and I look forward to beating you at the Lake Anna tournament. And
We'll see.
Just kidding, man. I'm just kidding, man. But you have a good one, bud, and we look forward to seeing you at Lake Anna, buddy.
All right, thanks.
Congrats.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
That was a good interview. Nathan's always really quiet at the tournaments. You know what I mean? You don't say a whole lot. I mean, he'll talk to you if you want to talk or whatever. But he's always been a really nice guy, down to earth guy, and like I say, it's well respected. He's put his time in. We've talked about it before on numerous shows, James. I see it in the bass boat tournaments. You got Clay Ross, the Ross and Ross. You got Reynolds and Reynolds. And man, people will bash sometimes on that stuff, and it's hard to bash a man who puts the time in. You know what I mean? The way I look at it, I can't expect to go out and fish once a month and come out and whip you guys. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen. Every once in a while, you get lucky, and the other guy has a bad day. That's where your luck rolls in. But to be consistent, like James, you had a good year last year. You won AOI. But to be consistent, you got to put your time in the water. And you put some good time in the water last year.
Oh, I was on the water a lot last year.
So, and Nathan, like say, getting back to Nathan and Casey, you two, you're starting out with a good year. Y'all put the time in. And that's what a lot of people need to understand, especially just getting into the sport. I'm not saying go and wreck your home life and just focus on fishing. You got to kind of balance it. But if you want to do good in kayak tournaments or tournaments in general, you got to put the time in on the water. I mean, that's the number one tip right there.
That's definitely the biggest thing is time on the water. Just, you know, it's all practice, really. I mean, every time you go out, you learn something. I mean, it may be the smallest little thing, but you always are learning something, and you need to be doing that and picking up these little tips and tricks, and I mean, that just helps you out. You never know when it's going to help you out, the one little thing that you learned.
Yeah.
And you know, when you can put it together in a tournament, you know, you'll be like, man, I never thought that would do it for me, but it cashed you a check or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, any little thing helps, and you pick up all those little things the more time you spend on the water.
And like say the time on the water, it's just some things that help you make adjustments. You know, you're casting a shaky head, and the water's dead calm, and you start, you know, you catch some, but all of a sudden the wind picks up and that bite dies off. You know, okay, well, I better make a change for a reaction bait, like a spinner bait or something like that, or but you know, something that kind of, once that wind picks up, it starts getting them fired up. You know, so you might not pick that up on the first time you got on the water if you don't fish a lot, but once you start doing it all the time, you know when there's time to make a change.
Yeah.
You just hope that you act on it sometimes, because we're stubborn. All fishermen are stubborn. We kind of stick with something sometimes all day, you know.
Yep.
So you just kind of learn to make those changes. So, Chris, what time do we got right now? 9. All right, we got a little bit of time before we get Greg Blanchard on. Have we got any questions that come in right now? Been kind of quiet tonight. All right, well, that's all right. Everybody want to listen to Nathan. They want to get off. They just being nosy. See what they can do. But let's we were talking about the boards. Before we get Greg on, we'll talk a little bit more about the boards, because we're going to be in and out of segments with you, Casey, on some things. But we talked about there was 3 different boards to use. And, you know, you said there really was no perfect board, but certain ones put a little more glare off, or the color's a little harder to read in pictures and stuff like that. Kind of elaborate on what kind of board you prefer to judge off of.
So, I mean,
I'm not really brand, just kind of color-wise and stuff like that. I mean, what's a good, clear board for you to read picture-wise?
I mean, you just need something with the lines marked well, like which the catch board is great for that. But I do have issues with that when you it takes a lot more glare, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When the sun hits it certain directions, it's really hard to read. I like the hog trough because of that. You don't get as much glare, but then you don't have the pre-marked lines. So there's give and take with all the boards. But you just kind of got to be aware of which board you have and the issues that it has. Like with the hog trough, you gotta pack it in bubble wrap to carry it anywhere, or else you're gonna break it. But the catch board, you know, you friggin' drop it off a building and you know it's not gonna break.
But if you drop in the water, she's gonna sink.
Oh
if she
yeah,
ain't tied.
yep. They say the quick sink technology, and
Yeah.
it will. But yeah, I mean personally, I use the hog trough. I'll probably get a catch board and try it out myself a little bit. I've never used one, but yeah, I mean I just stick to the hog trough for now.
Yeah. I like it. My advice is with the hog trough is always have a backup.
Yeah.
You know, I always keep an extra one in a kayak. I actually made a trip down to James's not too long ago. I had my black pack in the trailer. I had my hog trough down in my black pack. Well, apparently, I was either doing some crazy driving at one point or something. But anyways, that dude got to rocking and it broke just going down the road.
Yeah.
And I get to the house, I get down there, and I thought that was my old one, because I keep a small one now. Like if we go to the river, and you know you've weighted up a little bit, and you don't want to rush all the way back to the kayak. If you already got a limit of 5 and you think that one's close, I'll bump it. If it's close, I'll go back to the original board, take a picture of it and all that. You know, my good board. But this is kind of like a bump board for me. I'll carry it with me on my side.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what it was, and I was like, wait a minute, that looks really clean. I mean, like, it wasn't dirty. That was my brand new board that I broke, you know.
Yeah.
But there's things you can do on stiffening them up, putting dowels in them, and stuff like that on the backside to kind of make them a little better. But
you can do that, and also they don't float like just when you buy them. Or I guess somebody sells a board that they put something in the back of it that does, but generally they don't float. But yeah, there's stuff you can do to make them float. They don't sink quick, but they don't float either. But yeah, there's stuff you can do to stiffen them up, make them more sturdy, and make them float.
Yeah.
as
James
well
has got a
with the
video
catch
about
board.
that too, right? You did a video,
Yeah.
James, on making a little trick you can do to make it float.
Yeah, with the backer rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest thing with the hog trough though is making sure you take a Sharpie and mark those lines. And
Yeah.
when I do it, I just mark the very top ridge of that line. If you got a nice camera phone, take a really clear picture. You don't need that necessarily, but it helps. It just helps to draw the attention to that line. But like I said, if you got a clear picture, you don't necessarily need that. You
Yeah.
can see those ridges on there still.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people, man, you got to get a good picture. Some camera phones are better than others in certain light conditions. Just test yours out and make sure you're getting those clearer pictures.
Yeah.
And I try to when I'm taking a picture of a fish, I'll take multiple pictures. I'll start from like real high up. I have the hog trough laying in my lap, the fish on it. I'll start from real high up and just get one picture just to make sure all the fish is in it. And then I'll start moving down and get that camera closer to the fish and get that fish just where it's barely in that frame. So that way you got the most detail coming out of that in that picture.
Yeah.
And every little thing you'll be able to see. Those marks on the board, the bumps on the board, you'll be able to see all that perfectly clear. And, a clear picture is going to help the judge out. It's going to, if it's a questionable call, if the picture's blurry and you can't tell that it's on that line, you're not going to get it. And, quarter of an inch can make or break you in some tournaments. It can cost you a lot of money.
It's big.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you get the best picture you can. And, if it takes a little bit of time to do that, you need to take the time to do it.
Yeah.
And kind of going into another thing, having a good pair of fish grips on the board. There's a few different brands, that people use. I guess it's Cal Coast makes them. What are they called? I think I had it written down. I can't remember what they're called.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember James, you remember the Cal Coast name?
It's a leash or something, isn't it?
They got the donkey leash.
Yeah,
Donkey leash.
That's what it is. That's what I was thinking of, I think.
Yeah.
And then Accucole's coming out with something.
Yeah, Accucole's got their Accicole fish tether. That ain't hit the market yet, but we did a video on that a while back. I think that's going to be a good system as well.
Yeah.
Just got to get some more people trying it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, you need something that you can be able to put the fish on, put it back in the water, make sure it's tethered off to the kayak, and kind of let that fish hang out while you're checking your pictures, making sure you got a good picture. Or right after you catch it, you gotta get your board out, get your identifier ready, get your camera ready, and that way we're not keeping the fish out of the water for any length of time.
Yeah.
And it also kind of settles that fish down a little bit, so when you lay it on the board, it's not gonna go crazy.
Yeah. And another thing too to remember, especially on the catch boards where they're metal, but also any board, it's good practice is to dip the board in the water. I like to before you put the fish on it. You know, it's especially like on some of the metal boards, it gets really hot, and they've actually kind of thinking that some of these sores on these fish from regular bass boat tournaments as well. Guys bumping them on there real quick, making sure they're 14 inches and throw them in the live well. Well, some of these guys will leave that board out all day sitting in the sun, and it's hot. I mean, it'll burn you. If you put your hand on it, it'll burn you, so it's probably not great for the fish either. So it's always good to dip it, and it kind of calms the fish down a little bit too, I think. They're laying on something wet. It's not something dry and make them, I don't know, freak out. I don't know, but
yeah, well, it doesn't rip their slime. I think when something's wet, it's not going to take their slime coat off as well. So.
Exactly. So, but like I say, I've noticed that when I first started, I kept having a lot of fish jump off a board. You know, you hold them there and they jump right out of your hand. And I've learned that if you kind of put them on that fish tether or whatever, put them over in the water and just let them chill while you calm down after you just caught that fish and getting everything out, it helps them calm down a little bit. And when you get them on the board, they're a little more easier to handle. A little something I like to do too is because since I've had so many jump out this way, is I actually put a net. I'll angle my net just right. So I've caught a couple fish like that. Yeah. You know, very close call, especially smallmouth. Smallmouth's the worst, man. They just don't stop fighting. So
yeah, smallmouth are terrible, and I haven't caught a lot of spotted bass, but this past year caught some spotted bass, and they did not want to live. They were worse than any smallmouth I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're mean.
Laying on the board.
Them fish are mean.
I had multiple jump off, and dude, I had a couple flop in the kayak, and it took me like 2 minutes to be able to even pick the thing up because it kept falling.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
yeah, it's. One more thing I want to get before we get Greg Blanchard on, Chris. You can maybe start working on a little bit if you want to. Is the sticker right there at the bump board. Now, some people put like a sticker on there or anything like. Is that good practice to do? Does it help you guys out when it comes to judging fish? Kind of, you know where the bump board ends.
It definitely can, and again, that comes down to making sure you have a clear photo. If you have a clear photo, you really don't need any of that, but you never know when it's going to happen or when you may not get the clearest of photos. So yeah, if you put a sticker on there, or sometimes people will just take and write with Sharpie on the fence of that board.
Yeah.
And that kind of just helps you be able to tell where that board is at and make sure that fish's jaws are pressed up against it.
I got you. All right, Chris, we got Greg Blanchard on. Hey, Greg, we got you, buddy.
Yeah, can you hear me? Am I sideways?
Yeah. Hit your camera button there, buddy. I think sometimes that helps there. Hit that little camera button. We might get you.
It's a video camera.
Yeah, Skype can be a difficult beast sometimes.
Yeah, let's see here. Camera.
It should be right there in the middle. It'll be a camera button.
I got that there. See me now?
Not yet, but if not, we can still talk to you though. While we work on this issue, sometimes Skype acts. It's coming now, yeah. Skype's been kind of funny today. You got any light in the background there?
Let's check.
Yeah, it's coming. Skype's been kind of funny tonight. It's actually been kind of jumping all over the place, but there we go.
There you are.
Hey man, how you doing? Yeah, we got you now.
Good, thanks. How are you guys?
Oh, not too bad, man. I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, we can hear you good.
Thanks for having me. This is cool.
So I know it's a different time zone here. We're trying to work a little bit later to get you on because I know you got a busy life too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm on the West Coast, so you guys are East Coast, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Okay, so what's it, 10 over there?
Yeah. It's a little after 10 right now.
Okay, it's getting late.
Yeah, it's getting party time now. We're getting into late hours.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It's I appreciate it. You guys got a cool show. I took a look at a couple of your episodes, and it's you guys got a good thing going. Very informative and nicely done.
I appreciate it, man. It's
Thank you.
Me and James, we've worked for a while now trying to just get things to this point, and now we got Chris on, and he's our tech guru now. We let him stay behind the scenes and run everything. So, and if
definitely necessary.
Yeah, and if something screws up, I don't get the blame for it. I just blame it on Chris.
Perfect reason.
Yeah, exactly. But Greg, I appreciate you coming on, man. I know you've got a great YouTube series. I watch all your videos when they come out, and I just think you've done a really good job putting your vlogs together on each trip. And I mean, you don't miss out no details on that.
Thank you. Yeah, the YouTube thing has definitely become a little bit more serious, I guess you could say, in the past year and a half, 2 years. It all started with kayak fishing when I first got into it. It was just, me getting a GoPro and filming my trips. And then, kind of as time went on and I started doing some tournaments, it became, I guess, more of a hobby. And then I don't want to call it a job at this point because that would seem silly. But I truly enjoy, shooting videos, especially with, the kayak scene, the fishing scene just growing like it has been in the past 5 years and, capturing the moments, the tournaments and whatnot. And I think, one of the coolest things for me, at least, is I think it's introduced a lot of, folks to kayak fishing. I get a ton of comments and messages about, questions about kayak fishing tournaments. So that's one of the cool things that has been, a factor.
Yeah. Oh, did we lose him, Chris? We still got you, Greg? Oh, yeah. All right, there we go. Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
It's like I say, Skype's been crazy today. I don't know what's going on our end. I don't know if it's the weather on our end or what, but yeah, kind of getting into... What got you into the tournament side of kayak fishing?
It was pretty random, to be honest with you. The kayak fishing thing, when I first started kayak fishing, I didn't know it was a thing. And I don't think it really was a thing. At that point, it wasn't a well-known thing. But I just I was a bank fisherman, like most of us, and I wanted to get off the bank. And long story short, I kind of ran into some kayaks during a vacation, but that got me my first kayak. And I started seeing a few other guys kayak fish, and the Facebook and the social media was starting to get a little bit bigger. And this, I'm talking 6-7 years ago. But I saw, at the time I was in New York, that's my home base, and I saw a group of guys out of Western New York that actually had a little meetup group that would get together and, kayak fish, and they decided to do a tournament. This was extremely, informal. It was just basically guys getting together, putting money in a pot, and, the winner takes all. I think it was one fish, big fish won. But that was my first kayak tournament, and after that, I traveled for work. I went to Delaware, and they have a more established tournament series in Delaware. So I started fishing that because it was close to where I was working. And that's where it all started. That was about 5 years ago. And that's where I got started. I'd say I got serious about tournament fishing in Texas. I'm sure you guys have heard of the CAT series, Kayak Angler Tournament Series.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is probably when I not only became serious about kayak fishing, but also took the channel a little more seriously. I was posting my videos of my tournaments in Texas, and there's a lot of guys fishing those tournaments. We're talking 100+ anglers a tournament, and back 3 years ago, that was a pretty remarkable number.
Yeah.
But that's how I got started, and it's just like you guys probably know, it's an addicting feeling. I mean, we all love kayak fishing, but catching a fish in a tournament, you really can't beat it. So.
No, it's an adrenaline rush like no other. Me and James both, and James, you could probably relate on this. We used to race cars and race motorcycles, and it's an adrenaline rush, but it's something about that fishing, man. You catch that big fish, you don't know what's going to happen. If you're going to get it in, if it's going to win you the tournament, it's an adrenaline rush that lasts the whole day for me.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, when you see that fish come in your net, I mean, it's like one of the best feelings ever. And that's the thing. I don't know how many tournaments I've done now. Probably, I can't even guess, but plenty of tournaments. But it doesn't get old. It's always amazing each time. So.
Now, fishing over in California, how many guys do y'all have normally that are in y'all's events?
So for some reason, I've been extremely fortunate. So when I went to Texas, they had the CAT series, and they were 100+ guys. Came to California 2 years ago, and they actually had to cap the tournaments. They had to get special permits for more anglers, so they're capping the tournaments at 50 guys. And recently, last year, they were able to lift that cap. So our first tournament was actually a KBF tournament, Lake Berryessa, last weekend, and so the numbers are huge out in Northern California. I mean, the fisheries are amazing, and it's probably one of the biggest kayak fishing scenes in the country at the moment.
Yeah, it's I've had a good time. In your last video you just did with your big fish catch, all your big fish catching. I love watching, like, when you're out on the Delta throwing a frog or something, just watching that blow up and getting one. I think that was just a phenomenal video.
Yeah, very fortunate to be, an arm's length to the Delta. I mean, the Delta, even, growing up in New York, the first 25 years, the California Delta has always been on my bucket list. When I saw the Bassmaster episode, when they went to the Delta, back in the 90s, I mean, I said, I got to fish there at some point. And that's honestly the reason I came to California. I said, I got to fish the Delta. Let's find some work. And I found a job and fish the Delta. And
yeah, I would be hooked too. That's why it ain't no good for me to go over. The ground moves over. That's why I don't go to California, though. I don't like when the earthquakes. I hear earthquakes going on.
Earthquakes, fires, torrential downpours lately. I mean, every place has its things, but I mean, it's a trade-off for sure.
Yeah,
it's worth it when you catch that big fish.
Yeah, and it's not. The Delta's amazing, and it's different though because it's a tidal fishery. And my first time on the Delta, I've never fished tides, so it's been a learning experience. But I mean, not just the Delta. I mean, we've got Clear Lake, we've got Lake Berryessa where the tournament was last weekend. That's a phenomenal fish. We've got some really nice spotted bass lakes. We got Bullard's Bar. We've got Lake Shasta. I mean, it's just an incredible area for bass fishing. I mean, you can't never every single place. That's what I really enjoy.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of talk. Let's talk a little bit about you got your YouTube channel, and there's so many people out there now that are trying to get going in YouTube and starting their YouTube channel. And what is the number one key to growing a YouTube channel, like fishing content and all that?
The number one key, that's a tough question, but I do think the number one key is consistently uploading. I think if I do get that question a fair amount, and the thing I say is the most important is uploading consistently, and we're talking once or twice a week, and without taking breaks. YouTube is interesting, and I don't fully understand it, but they do have like special algorithms for content creators who upload, and they look at retention time for audience, watch time, subscribers. All those things are factored in. And again, I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about, but I do know those are factors. But I have witnessed this with not only my own channel but other channels. Is when you stop uploading on a consistent basis, when you take a month off, when you take 2 months off, it for some reason hurts your channel. Where you get the recommended videos on the side, or your homepage, the videos to watch. For some reason, if you take a break and then you decide to upload, you're out of that equation. So I think if you want to have a successful YouTube channel, you need to commit to uploading on a regular basis, and that would be the biggest factor, I'd say, at this point. But again, there are a lot of factors, but that's the big one.
Yeah, that's something we've noticed too. Like, that's why we try to start putting our show to on every Sunday night. So we know at least every Sunday night we have a video going up. But then, we try to, fishing season's starting to kick off, so now we'll start uploading more consistently. But because over here it's been so daggone cold, you don't even go in the water. But the Sunday night shows really help out to being consistent, because we noticed a big difference when we went to the Bassmaster Classic last year, and then we said, look, man, we got to upload a video every week, at least one. And our subscriber count started going up. It took a little bit, and all of a sudden now it's, for you it might be a little different, but for us, we have big gains. We get 100 subscribers a month, and we're like, oh man, we had a really good month.
No, that's great. Definitely. That's yeah. I think consistently uploading is key. And like I said, for whatever reason, YouTube likes that. That's part of their equation, part of how they recommend you side videos, whatnot. So definitely.
Yeah. And something else too we've learned, and you probably know this as well, is making good titles. Good titles and
Yeah.
good thumbnails and your tags. That's the key after that, after your consistency.
Yeah, totally agree. Titles, thumbnails. The thing is now, I mean, we hear this word clickbait. We all know what clickbait is, and it's just so. I think clickbait worked 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but now there's just so much of it to work. So you definitely need the titles and the images to catch your audience, but the content too. The content is huge. You have to have something interesting to show, and that there's so many factors again that make a channel grow. And I've had my spurts where I've done well, and I've had droughts too. I don't pay attention too much to the analytics. I do look at it every so often, but I know that there's been some months where I'll get a bunch of so much. So and I think again it's the content. The winter definitely slowed me down a little bit just because I wasn't able to get on a good bite out here. The weather was pretty crazy out here as well, and the content, the audio, the video retention time wasn't as much. So again, so many factors, but and it's competitive nowadays. It's so competitive with social media.
Oh, it is. It's crazy when we got a few other people out here that kind of do the same thing we do when it comes to social media and fishing news and stuff like that. And not that you try to be competitive, but it is competitive. Like you're trying to get something up before someone else is, or try to do something a little bit different than everybody, so you can kind of get that edge and get more views. And it's tough. I'm not gonna say it's cutthroat, but it's kind of tough sometimes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. When there's something new on the market, I mean, a lot of guys, including myself, will want to get some content on it, first thing. But the other thing is, I mean, guys are good nowadays. Guys can put out really good videos. I mean, you've seen all the Bassmaster, FLW guys, MLF guys, start their own YouTube channels, and their content's amazing. So it's so competitive in that respect too.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. Hey, Casey, you got anything for Greg? I know I'm putting him on a spot here, but did you have any questions for Greg?
I guess one thing I was just wondering when you were saying, like, putting out a video or 2 videos every week, and you said it's been tough, like, this winter fishing. Like, when the fishing is good, do you get a lot of footage and then, like, save some of that video to, put out later on? Like, or do you just kind of release a lot all at once?
Yes, I do. So, typically what I've done in the past, if I'm on a really good bite, I might split that day into 2 videos. I've only done that a handful of times, but the other thing I started doing about a year and a half ago was these 30-minute POV uncut videos. So pretty much exactly what it sounds like. I put the GoPro on the chest and I'd hit record in 30 minutes of fishing. And that would be it. And again, these were when the fishing was good. I was on a good bite, good frog bite. So those are the times where I would maybe make a day trip into 2 videos. And hopefully I'll be able to do some more of that this year with some good, Cal Delta frog fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love to see some more of the frog fishing stuff. That's just, I don't know. It's something about watching a fish blow up on the lure, man. It's just pretty cool.
It's exciting to watch.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, my favorite way to fish. I mean, it's fun to crank them. It's fun to get them on chatterbaits, but topwater frogs especially. I love it. When you're fishing on the cheese, fishing on the that thick stuff, and they just come up and smash it. I mean, I could do that forever.
So kind of talking about the KBF a little bit, got a national championship coming up. Are you going to make it you'll be out there to the national championship?
I will be there. This is going to be probably the craziest month of tournament fishing of my life. So we just did Barrios next week. Actually, no, this week, Saturday, Sunday, we got the Hobie and Shasta. So Gonna make my way up there on Thursday, pre-fish, 2-day tournament, and then right after that, it's off to Louisiana. I think I'll get there maybe about a week before the tournament, so I will be there, and it should be a good one. I think it should be better than Kentucky, I assume. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited.
Now, I know there's cypress trees, and that's a cool thing about Virginia, especially like where James is from, and Casey just came from Santee Cooper down there fishing around cypress trees. Do you have that opportunity, like in the Delta with cypress trees and stuff like that, to fish, or do you have much of that there?
I don't think we have cypress trees. We definitely, I mean, with a tidal fishery and depending on the water levels, we do have a lot. I mean, the whole bank is flooded, bushes, timber, grass, cattails, whatnot. So not a ton of that, but I have actually fished in, like I was saying, in Delaware. I fished a few ponds in Delaware, and they had cypress trees.
Yeah.
So I'm somewhat familiar, with throwing a jig at them and cranking them and all that good stuff. So I'm excited to get back to some of that kind of fishing down there in Louisiana.
Now, does the gators bother you? It bothers me.
You know what? I fished in water. I was in East Texas for a while, so I fished in areas that have gators. I've never seen a gator, but I am a little hesitant. I'm like you. It's something in the water that could kill you. So I'm like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know the odds of that happening are slim. Actually, when I went to East Texas I think I was in East Texas for about 2 months. I did my research. I was like, all right, Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, I'm gonna hit all these lakes, and then I found out that there were gators, these big gators. So I got a little nervous, and I called the wildlife department. I talked to a guy. Should I be more gators in Toledo Bend? And he's like, you know what? They're curious. They'll probably follow you around, but they're not gonna be aggressive. The only places where you might have to worry about them is by the boat ramps, because that's where a lot of people dump their catch or their fillets or whatever, and the gators sometimes get conditioned to eat around the boat ramp. So he's like, don't wade yourself in any boat ramp launches or water like that. So that was good advice. And then he said the only death ever by a gator was in Toledo Bend, was like 20 years ago. Like jumped on a gator, kicked on it. So I mean, that put my mind at ease. Just knowing that you have to really mess up to die from. But again, I am cautious.
Yeah.
I will be cautious.
Hey, James, you got any questions for Greg? Want to do like a little in-depth segment?
What's your favorite thing to do, like fishing wise? What's your favorite technique?
I would say hands down frog fishing, especially the Delta. I love frog fishing, especially from a kayak. I've done it out of a bass boat, and it's still fun, but it's different from a kayak because you're so low to the water already. And, obviously you can get your kayak into places the big boats can. But when the water temp hits 52, 53 here out in California, and I'm on the Delta, I mean, that frog's going to be in the boat for sure. And I'd say some of the best days I've ever had on the Delta, throwing the frog. So definitely frog fishing is my favorite thing to do.
What's your setup and everything with that when you throw it?
So I have a lithium frog. It's a 610. It's a heavy rod. And the 610 is actually something I think is a little different than traditional, frog rods, a little bit shorter. But for me and fishing the Delta, I like that shorter rod. It allows me to really get more pinpoint casts. It's still a good rod though. It's got that tip and it's got a good backbone, so I can winch fish out pretty good. But I like that shorter rod length out of the kayak, which I think may be a little bit different than what most guys are throwing their rods on. And as far as a reel, I got the Corrado K. I think it's like an 8.5-1. You get that high speed reel. 50-pound braid for me. I know a lot of guys like that 65, but I've honestly never had a problem with the 50. I've never had a break off, and I do feel like I can get a little bit longer cast with it too. If there's a big expansive field of cheese out there in the Delta, I can really launch that frog a little bit further. So it's my favorite combo.
Absolutely. What's some of your favorite frogs to throw?
I've experimented with a bunch. I would say going into this year that I've got two. We've got a finesse style frog, which would be for more open water, gaps in the vegetation. It's the Booyah Pad Crasher. I've been using that for years now. Little half ounce. Smaller frog than normal, but it's more my finesse frog, and my mat frog or the frog throw on the thick stuff will be a live target frog, the big size. I've done other frogs. I won't mention any brands because I don't want to put them down, but the live target frog seems to have the best hookup ratio for me, and I just have a lot of confidence in it. So those two frogs are going to be on deck for me this year.
Absolutely. Josh, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the frog fishing?
I did. This is the problem I run into for me, and it could be like, say you go to a little bit shorter rod. A lot of people in bass boats use longer rods on frog fishing. Do you think that the hookup ratio is off a little bit more in a kayak for the fact that when you set the hook, you're pulling yourself? You know what I mean? So I feel like you're not digging in like you should be with a frog.
That's a great question. I think possibly. Like I said, I haven't fished out of a bass boat a ton, but oddly enough, when I have, it almost seems like I lose more fish out of the boat than the kayak, it's like counterintuitive. It might be my technique or whatnot, but that'd be interesting to poll a bunch of guys on, because for me personally, from my experience, I've lost more fish out of the boat, the big boat with a frog, than out of the kayak. And funnily enough, and this could explain part of it, is the technique. So I think one of the first couple times I went frog fishing out of the back of a bass boat, after the day ended, I was like, oh man, my side really hurts. And I looked at my side, okay, that was bruised. That butt rod just dug into my side, and I was like, what the heck? How did that happen? And then I realized, out of the kayak, I've got my NRS life vest there as like a padding, and every time I set the hook, it just goes into the life vest.
Yeah.
So my technique could be off too on the boat.
That's true. It's a different ball game there. Chris, you said we got a question? What is it again? So like
you don't got a limit.
It's getting crunch time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say it's getting late, and you need a kicker fish to really turn the tournament around for you. What is your go-to technique on that?
For a kicker fish?
Yeah. Like say you got your limit, but you need a good kicker fish. What would you go to? Which could be tricky, but
yeah. Well, on the Delta, it's a frog, no matter what. No drop shot, no finesse. It's a frog. Even if they're not really eating the frog that day, it's going to be a frog. Anywhere else, it depends on the bite. This year, in particular, for a lot of the tournaments I have set up that I know I'm fishing out here in California, a couple in New York, it will be a glide bait, probably either an S-Waver or that Jackal Gantarelle. I've only had a few, a handful of, but they all been good. So those will probably be my kicker fish bait.
Yeah. We got nothing else?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's been kind of quiet tonight on there. It's like everybody, I think we're asking all the right questions, because no one's been asking anything.
Yeah, it could be.
What's that? When and how do you sign up for that frog tournament? Justin said that.
He's probably talking about the Ultimate Frog Challenge. That's a California Delta annual tournament, I'm assuming he's talking about. There's a couple other ones, but it's online. Just look up UFC Ultimate Frog Challenge. I think it's in end of July every year on the Delta. And you have to have a boat. It's a boaters tournament. So either you have a boat or you're a co-angler. And the past 2 years, I've been the co-angler.
I got you. Now, have you ever thought about getting more into like a bass boat. I mean, I know the kayaking's addicting. I've actually sold my bass boat to do kayaking. Have you ever thought about, hey, I might get me a boat just to kind of go a little more places?
Yeah, so oddly enough, my first initially, after I was in college at the time, and I was thinking about a boat, and I was going through school, broke college kid, going on, and I was like, oh, I graduated. I was looking up boats. I mean, I was researching bass boats all the time in preparation for a purchase, and then ironically, that little vacation with the kayaks came up, and that changed my whole mind. But I think eventually, if I own property on the water, I'll get a bass boat just to mix it up. But other than that, I don't really see myself, buying a bass boat. I think at this point, I can get everywhere I want with a kayak, and to me, honestly, it's more enjoyable. I think it's less stressful. Obviously, the financial aspect is a bonus.
Yeah.
But I think the only way I'd ever get a bass boat, and it'd probably just be like an aluminum boat, something like that, nothing fiberglass. But I think if I owned property on the water, then maybe I'd get one.
Yeah. Now, I got one more question for you. You got nothing right now, do you? I got one more question for you. When it comes to packing for a tournament or packing your boat during the tournament or fishing trip, are you one that packs heavy, or are you kind of a light packer? Do you just bring kind of just what you need? Because I can tell you right now, me and James, we come from bass boats, so we like to pack everything we can. They're heavy. They're heavy boats.
Yeah. No, great question. For me, it's kind of evolved over the years. I'd say when I first started doing tournaments, I mean, I was loading it up. I was, 8 to 10 rods, 300 pounds of plastics. Well, not that much, but a lot of plastics. Nowadays, I'm trying down size, not just for the for a lighter weight boat, but just I feel like when I had all those options before, I wasn't really focusing in on the baits that should work or I had confidence in, and I was switching too much, and it just became too much to think about. And lately, I'd say I pack somewhat light, but I still have all my confidence baits. And, I for tournaments, I carry a bunch of backup stuff in the truck. So usually for me, I'm there a couple of days early. So if, God forbid I need to get deep diving crankbait, not that I ever think I would, but if I do need it, it's in the truck and it's there. So definitely a little bit lighter for me nowadays.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, so you got anything else for me, man?
No, I don't think so. I did want to throw out there, somebody asked about the frog tournament. Spro is doing one on Gunnersville later in the year as well.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a kayak-only tournament as well.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I did hear about that. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'll be – I would love to get down there to Gunnersville. That's always been kind of a bucket list lake for me and James, and never made it there.
Yeah.
I'd love to get on Gunnersville.
Yeah.
Which national championship next year will be at Gunnersville, right? So
Yep.
I got to make it.
Yeah, I plan on getting down there at some point this
Oh,
year.
yeah, that's right.
So, but
Nice.
well, Greg, I don't know if we got any more questions, man. We just love to get you on and talk, YouTube and fishing and talk about the Delta a little bit. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, man.
Absolutely, I appreciate me. Future, I can help the guest again, but you guys are doing a killer job.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you for coming on.
Look forward to seeing you at the national championship, man.
I will see you guys there.
All right, see you there.
Thank you, man.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, that was another good interview. I've been watching him for a while, and he's kind of inspired me on just getting out filming more of what we do. So many people just film the good days.
Yeah.
And he's good at filming, if you got a tough day, he films it, you know what I mean? And it's a learning curve just if you're watching it, because you're like, well, hey, man, I kind of see what he did, you know what I mean? And I say he did wrong, but like, hey, man, people have bad days, And he gets out and fishes all the time, and you get out and fish all the time. It's like we was talking about Farmville. You kind of had a bad day.
Yeah.
And, but, you learn from him. You see him making changes. You see the baits he's throwing. It kind of gives you some ideas to go out and try certain things, So he's kind of inspired me and James on to just filming everything. Just film it, post it, talk about it, and where you think you screwed up. you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a different style. And like you said, man, you see some of these guys, their posts on Facebook and stuff, you're like, man, these guys always catch monsters.
Yeah.
But they don't show you the days where they go out and didn't catch anything, or caught a couple small ones. Like, they don't show you all that. You can't see all that. All you see is the big fish pictures.
Yeah.
So yeah, having something like that kind of puts a little bit more reality into it, and lets the average person see that, not everybody just goes out there and catches big fish all the time. Like,
exactly.
There's bad days as well.
And you and James, you also last year, you spent a good week or two just on like a vacation, just fishing. And Casey, you as well, you spent many trips to Farmville area to fish, and you posted a lot of, both of y'all did. Y'all posted some big fish on the boards, but you didn't catch them every time you went out. You know what I mean? Like, you might catch one big one. Now, you've had nights where you've caught several big ones, but there's times where you just catch that one big one and you put it on the board, So, I mean, that's just how it is when it comes to tournament fishing. It ain't always – that's the good thing about the month-long events. People that are kind of that haven't got into kayak fishing yet or thinking about tournament fishing, the month-long events are great if you can't make the in-person ones, because you can just fish it when you have time.
Yeah.
There's no cutoff time. You know what I mean? You can fish all night, all day if you want to.
Yeah, you can fish anytime during that month as long as it's on a public access body of water. And, it's tough on some people because you got some people that are putting up big numbers every month. But I enjoy it. Even when I first got into it, I really enjoyed it. I wasn't winning the event, so I'd barely even cash a check in one, but it got me out there. It got me practicing the catch, picture, release format, using the identifier, making sure the pictures are good before, you really step into the bigger tournaments where everything's live and in person, and, you got a lot more money on the line.
Yeah.
So the online tournaments, I run those as well, and I think they're key for getting people into the sport and letting them practice the catch, picture, release format.
Yeah. Let's kind of talk about your points for the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge, because I know sometimes it was a little confusing for me until I figured out how you were doing it. Let's talk about points first on your in-person events.
Okay.
So how does your points work out on that? I mean, it's a mathematical equation on how the points are distributed, or how much points are distributed on the amount of anglers that fish it, right?
Yeah, so the way it works is, depending on how many people are in the event, it would either the deduction in points from one spot to the other would change slightly. And we keep it down to to a tenth of a point, but yeah, so it would change whether there was 34 people, 35 people, or 20 people or 50 people. That deduction in points would change.
Yeah.
Just because I think if you win a tournament, no matter how many people in there, you had a good day. But if you win a tournament with 10 people versus a tournament with 50 people, I think there should be a slight difference in as far as the points are concerned.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when it comes to like, I just had a brain fart where I was going with that question, but I know what it was. The points for the amount of, or how many events that you got to fish. I'm trying to reword this question right. How many events we have this year?
We have 7 events. That's including the Classic.
Yeah. Now, is the Classic going to be points this year?
The Classic is not going to be points this year. I don't know. I went back and forth between doing that as a points event, but just decided not to do it. And we'll think about it again next year, and that may be something that changes next year. But, yeah, no, it's not a points event.
All right. Now, so how many – this is where I was trying to get at. How many events do you have to fish to count? Like, you got your best – it takes your best 5 out of 6 or your best –
Yeah, it'll be the best 5 out of 6 regular season events.
Yeah.
So
if you have a bad event – you fish them all and you have one bad event, your best 5 events is going to count.
Yeah, and I think that's good. It lets people – they don't necessarily have to fish every single event. If they have something going on or they can't make an event for whatever reason, they have that one event they can drop and still be competitive in Angler of the Year.
Yeah. James, what in the world are you beating around on?
Nothing.
Sounds like somebody's doing dishes somewhere.
It does. It sounds like somebody's doing dishes or something. I don't know. It just sounds like
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hear it. Is Ashley doing dishes?
No, she's in the bed.
Oh, I got you. I don't know what it is. I hear it. I'm like, God darn, and I don't see him moving. So I'm like, what is he kicking the desk or something?
No.
But no. So when it comes to the online events, now the points are a little bit structured different, as in they don't count as much like the in-person events do.
Well, this year I just got rid of the online events completely from.
Oh, so they don't
Kayak
even
Bass
count for
Challenge.
points at all.
Yeah, so that's its all separate things.
I got you.
And it was separate last year, but we also included it in some of the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge, some of the online events. But yeah, it's a totally separate thing this year.
I got you.
So for the online events, there its own Angler of the Year for those. But yeah, but they don't cross at any point this year.
I got you. I like that. I mean, I know some people wished it probably would have, but it really didn't matter because it was only like half the point. So they never mattered in the end.
Yeah, really, and that's why I kind of did it is because the online events shouldn't really count towards the in-person events, Angler of the Year, I don't think. But it did help boost some of the money that we collect for the Classic and that. But I think we're going to grow so much this year that I don't think we'll need that to help boost the dollar amount for the Classic.
Exactly. But Chris, you said we got a question?
Yeah, it's still 4 events to qualify for the classic.
Yes.
Oh, so you still got to fish at least 4 events to make it. Okay.
Yeah.
And where was the Classic going to be at this year? That was Chickahominy.
Chickahominy, yep.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be that's going to be an awesome event. I'm really looking forward to that. October in Chickahominy.
Yeah, that's the one I'm with.
Yeah, it was September when we went down there and fished last year, right?
October should be even better.
Yeah, it was. Man, I can't wait. Man, that gives me goosebumps thinking about that event. Man, I love it, Chickahominy. But
yeah, there were some big numbers put up there last year.
Yeah,
I can't.
Some
remember
really
what it
big
was.
numbers.
It was over 100 inches, though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
It was 102.
It was two of them over 100, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did Steve Bishop had a
Bishop and Mike Marborough. I think they took first and second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know James had a good bag. I knew he was ahead of me, but I come in, I'm like, man, I think I might have made a top 5. Yeah, I don't know what I had, 86 inches, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. And I come in, I'm like, God darn, I think I finished 7th, 8th, something like that. But I thought it was higher, like I come all bow chested, I might walk away with some money in this one today.
86 inches is a good number for any tournament you fish.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes people will just smash them, dude. And to do over 100 inches in any tournament on any body of water in any given day, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I don't care where you are.
And Steve Bishop, we knew going into that event he was going to be a hard to beat anyway, because that month-long event he put up like 112 inches. What was it?
It was something like 112 inches.
Yeah,
it was
like
crazy.
Inches or something, man. I mean, he caught some big fish.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, he said he's been fishing that lake for like every week he fished tournaments out of it for every week for who knows how many years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he knows that lake and he did good on it, and look forward to trying to beat him on it this year.
Yeah, exactly. He's the one who's got the bullseye when you go there,
Yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to this year, as in the amount of people? Looking forward to how many people you think we'll have this year. I mean, you had a consistent 30. Last year.
We averaged 30 last year,
which
was basically double our average from the year before. I hate to say it, man, but I think we made double again this year, just from the feedback that I've gotten. Depending on the events, I mean, I think we'll hit 60 on at least one event, and that's not including the Lake Anna event, which is a KBF trail. We'll definitely have 60 in that one. I'm confident in saying. I mean, judging by the first tournament of the year on Santee, I mean, they had 122 people there, and they did the Open there last year where they paid out $10,000. This year it was only $2,000, and we had over like 40 more people come. So I think the way they have the regional format set up this year for the KBF Trail, I think you're getting a lot more people to come out to these events and come to every one, hopefully. And so hopefully we'll start seeing every event in numbers around 100. I'm hoping for the KBF Trail. So
yeah, that's awesome. I know it was just fun just with the amount we had then, you know, and because you had guys that you always had at least 10 guys that you knew were going to probably do good. You know, guys like Dustin Good, James, he was on a roll. You know, Steve Bishop, Nathan Green, you know, all these guys, man, all of them seemed to be – they were in your mind, you know, when you come in because you didn't see them on the board sometimes until the end. Wes Small was one of those too, you know. And it's just to be able to have guys like that. And I'm not saying none of these other guys ain't good. You know, they just had a bad day or whatever. You know what I mean? But there's always a select few that just are really good sticks. Yeah. Consistently catch them.
Yeah, and that's consistency. I mean, like, we got a lot of good anglers. And, I mean, even me, like, I didn't do so well this year in the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge myself. Like, I mean, I think I got second in the first event we did, and then, like, the rest I never placed in. But some of these guys like Dustin and James, and I mean, just that consistency is freaking awesome, and I love seeing that because like you can get lucky and win an event or you know get a couple checks, but to constantly be cashing checks is a feat, and that's impressive.
Yeah. Chris, you said we got a question?
Yeah, Nathan wants to know what region Casey is concentrating on.
Which region?
I'm concentrating on the Northeast. I'm going to fish every event in the Northeast. Now that I've fished the first Southeast event, I may try to make it to 3 of those just to see what I can do there as well. But no, I'm definitely fishing all the rest of the 5 Northeast events. And hopefully, we'll see. There's a couple of Hobie events that I'm looking at, and trying to just interested in seeing to go to those and help support them, and see what they're all about. So, like they have one on the New River. I'm not sure I can't remember what the date is. It's one of their satellite events, but it's I believe it's in Hinton, in West Virginia. But I fished a tournament there last year, so I'm thinking about going to that one as well, even though I'm not a big river guy.
Yeah.
But but I think it would be a fun event to do. So
talk a little bit. I know I want to get back on it here in a minute, but just kind of talking a little bit. What as much fishing as you did last year, and you had a good finish in an Angler of the Year and not for the KBF series, and what does it cost? You know, I'm not saying all the other little expenses, but on an average cost of traveling, staying, and entry fees, what's it cost to do that, to be competitive in the KBF Trail?
Well, let's see. I mean, I probably spent $6,000 on between like tackle, hotel rooms, entry fees, whatever else that comes along with it. I put over 12,000 miles just driving to and from tournament locations. That's not including the time driven around while there, and that's not including the online events.
So you put a lot of miles in on the online events.
Yeah, my guess is I probably put another at least 8,000 on in the online events alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot. But, but yeah, it's definitely not cheap. And I mean, you could do it a lot cheaper. Like every time I'd go somewhere, I'd go to the tackle shop, I'd buy stuff. Like I'd get to the car, I'd be like, I didn't need any of that stuff.
No, yeah.
So I mean, there's definitely a lot of expenses that I didn't need to spend on. Definitely trying to tighten it up a little bit this year, and not go buy everything in a tackle shop just because it's shiny and bright and it looks good. Trying to, I made a little Subaru hotel, so I got that. So I'm going to use that a lot, and rather than getting a hotel room every single night, try to cut down on costs. And entry fees are going up this year because you got the Pro Series. Paid $200 to buy into that, and then $250 for every event, plus the $75 for the trail event. So I mean, the entry fees are going to more than double this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got a lot more expense there. So.
Yeah, more expense there, and you probably have a higher payouts as well.
Yeah.
But
high risk, high reward. That's what it is when you get into that.
So if you cash a few checks, you'll be sitting pretty good. Hopefully you get the big one and or a couple of the big ones. But it's hard fishing against these guys. Like I was pumped on my 5th place finish, just because going into that day that I wasn't on anything good. I just kind of grinded it out. But when you're fishing against a lot of these sticks, man. It can play in your mind. You're like, man, I can't do anything against these. You got like Jody Queen, Corey Dryers, you got Josh Stewart, Cody Milton.
Yeah.
You got all these guys that have consistently been in the top 10 every year, and consistently, or as far as AOI points, and consistently place in the top 5 at these trail events.
Mm-hmm.
And all over the country, and it's hard competing against those guys, but it's fun, man. And when you do good against them, it just makes it even that much better.
Yeah, that's like Jody Queen. He placed he won the month-long event down there, I think.
Yeah, I saw somebody post that. I think down in Florida, he had like 117 and a half inches or something.
He had a 10-pound. He had a 10. Did you see that, James? The 10-pounder he had.
No, I didn't see the 10-pounder.
Yeah, go on Jody Queen's thing and look it up. He got on his Facebook page. He's got a 10-pounder on there that he caught. I think that's what sealed the deal for him there. I mean, it was a gigantic fish.
Yeah,
and a kayak, man. That's really. I mean, bass boat, kayak, whatever. It's a big fish, but fighting a 10-pounder in a kayak, that's just that's crazy. But he went down there. I mean, we had him on the show last month, I think it was, and he was down in Florida. So, and it's like he lived down there. He just moved down there or something.
Yeah, I think he moves down there during the winter, and I know at least the past couple years that's what he's done.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly. I can't remember like what the deal is, why he does that, but yeah, I mean he gets down there and stays down there, and I'm sure he'll be coming back up north soon. But yeah, he's always on some good fish when he's down there. So.
Yeah, he had a really good spinnerbait segment when he was on. He had a lot of good information on that show. We got a lot of feedback from that part. But James, you got any questions for Casey tournament wise? I mean,
not really. We only got 2 minutes of show left.
Oh, really? Is it cutting us out?
It's 10:58.
Oh, well, that's on Blog Talk. Remember, we don't have to do that no more.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, man,
no.
God. Yeah.
I was like, goodness.
Yeah.
No, I just thought I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Shoot. Not really. I mean, we've covered so much stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Casey, you got anything like, some things that need to be covered kind of going into this year? Let's kind of talk about Lake Anna a little bit again. I know that's going to be the KBF event. What is it? Is there anything else? So it's just KBF and then your event, right, going on up there. Is there anything else? So you'll be able to enter in both of those tournaments that day.
Yeah. So for that, it's ran as 2 separate tournaments. You'll enter on Tourney X. You'll enter Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge Lake Anna event, and then you'll enter KBF trail event.
Yeah.
And 2 separate entry fees, 2 separate identifiers. You can use the same fish. So you catch one fish, make sure you got both identifiers in the picture, and you can submit it to both leaderboards, and have a chance at winning 2 different checks.
Yeah. Now Bugs Island, that one's gonna be a little different. Is that a KBF or is that a? It's
Yes, it should be. We're still trying to kind of work out the details on that. We're definitely running that with CKA. We're gonna do a kind of battle on the border style event. We're gonna, CKA is an awesome group. They have a lot of sticks down there in North Carolina as well. So we'll kind of run side by side with them. And I think it will be a KBF Open type event as well. It's not the Opens that they had last year. With the big guaranteed payout, but it's just like a true open event.
Yeah.
Where anybody can come. You don't have to be a member. But like I said, we're still trying to kind of work out the details of that and kind of see how that's going to play out.
So it'll be like 3 events.
Yeah. So that will be three events, 3 entry fees. So you got a chance at taking home some big money.
Yeah.
CKA sees about. I think they usually do about like 50 or 60 people at their events. I think their I can't remember. I think their entry fees like close to $50. So they have some pretty high payouts for them.
Yeah.
If we see 30, 40, 50 people, we'll have a nice chunk of change that we'll be paying out. And then we'll have to see what KBF does as far as we don't know entry fees or what the payout's going to be like for that. But that's another chance at taking another check home as well.
Yeah. So if you have a good day, you could wrap it all up, or you could place third in one, win one, and you got a good chance.
Not everybody's going to enter every event, so yeah, you may win one, you might come in second in another, or if you do good enough, you may just win them all. So,
yeah.
Now, I did have a question on the Pro Series stuff. The KBF Pro Series.
Yeah.
What's the difference in the payout on that? So
what KBF does for the Pro Series is they take you have your entry fee you buy in for each event as far as the Pro Series side, and that's $250. They pay out $180 of that. It's top 3 get paid out is what the payouts are. 50% of that 180 entry fee goes to first place, 30 goes to second place, and 20 goes to third place.
Okay.
Now, when it comes, go ahead, James.
Is that at each event?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's an extra $250 on top of whatever else you pay. Plus, you have to pay more to be in that as well, right?
But that's a one-time fee, right?
No. So basically, the Pro Series is just added on to the Trail Series. If you're fishing the Pro Series, you have to fish the Trail Series. So basically, and there was a buy-in to get into the Pro Series. So you have to pay $200 to buy into the whole Pro Series. Then you have to pay your trail entry fee, which is $75. Then you have to pay your buy-in for the pro side, which is $250. So you're talking $325 is the buy-in for each Pro Series event, basically. But yeah, you do have a chance to take home. Like I won 3rd in the Pro Series and then 5th in the Trail. So I took home 2 different paychecks.
Okay.
For that. So.
Now, when it comes to the Pro Series, and Chad's doing, I'm not one to knock anybody when it comes to running a tournament series. I know just what little club I run, it was difficult. And then when you get so many more people in the mix, and everybody's got a great idea and how they can make it so much better. Chad Nim's done a really good job. I'll give it to him. But when it goes to the Pro Series, do you feel like there should be more spots paid out, especially when you get more people in it? I know it's not the Elite Tour, because the Elite Tour is paying $5,000-$6,000 entry fees. I get that.
Yeah.
But they're paying out top 50 spots. I don't know what it is now this year because they got less people. But when they had 100-some people, it was the top 50 spots.
Yeah.
And then you made the last day, you had top 12. They got a little bit more than the other guys. But I know it don't work. It's a different format in kayak fishing. But do you think there ought to be more payout, like based off amount of people that's in the field?
Well, I mean, they really didn't know how many people were going to be in it going into it. So I feel like that was really difficult for them to try to figure out. But to keep the payouts pretty high. Like the more people you get, it's obviously a percentage of the entry fees.
Yeah.
So as the number of people entering grows, the payouts are going to grow as well. But it's still just going to be first, second, and third.
I got you.
So I mean, we had, I think it was 25 people entered the Pro Series for Santee Cooper, which I was kind of impressed with. I didn't think it was going to get that high. My guess was you're going to see around 10 people. So that was good. It boosted the payouts for sure. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see, you know, maybe a percentage paid out as far as the number of spots go. But I think for this year, I think the top three.
It's a good starter.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to see a lot of changes next year. And, you know, Chad's got a big announcement he's got coming up, which I thought he was going to do it this past week, but I know a little bit about that. We can't really go into it, but I think you're gonna see something really good coming out of it. So,
yeah.
So I look forward to him hearing that announcement and actually getting some more details about that myself. So
yeah. So let's kind of talk about since we're on entry fees, and we was talking about entry fees and on the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge. What are y'all's entry fees? I mean, I know what they are, but the people that are listening, what are y'all's entry fees? And then, are you still doing the side pot this year?
Yeah, I'm still going to do the side pot. So basically, it's a $30 buy-in for the event. You have the option of paying $10 and buying into the big bass, which that's big bass takes all.
Yeah.
And then we also started, I think in the middle of last year, we started doing a side pot with that's winner take all, and that's just kind of to boost the pot, give the guys that are a little more serious about it, you know, that want the higher risk, higher reward kind of thing. We do a $15 winner take all side pot, and you know, kind of boost it up a little bit. And,
yeah.
You know, if the guy who ends up going out there and smashes them doesn't buy into it, he's missing out on a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
But
well, that's something me and James always talk about. I mean, I know money sometimes is an issue for people when it comes to some of those events and traveling and all of that. But the way I see it, if I'm there to fish, like I've seen, I don't know about your series, but in bass pro tournaments, I've watched guys enter a tournament and never pay big fish.
Yeah.
I'm like, why in the world would you do that? Because that might be the only fish you catch all day. You know what I mean? And that'll win you big money.
Yeah.
Especially like Angler's Choice and stuff. That's $1,000, $1,500, something like that, I think, wasn't it, James?
Yeah.
So, but then, you know, like the side pot deal, I mean, if you're already paying the money to enter in a tournament and big fish, I would almost say put a little extra money into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you just never know.
Yeah.
Fishing's a what-if game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, you definitely never know. But yeah, we like to keep that option open at least because there are people that are doing this a lot more, kind of more for the social aspect, more for the fun thing.
Yeah.
Not quite as serious as some of these guys are. So we want to keep that entry fee low while still having the option to kind of boost it up a little bit more for those guys that are taking it serious.
Yeah. Well, Casey, you got anything else you want to cover on there before we?
I think we covered it all pretty good. I have my notes here, and I think we got it.
How about the Angler of the Year points for the KBF Pro Series? How does that work? I know they're doing like a big payout for that too, aren't they, or no?
As far as Angler of the Year for the Pro Series, I don't know that there is one. I'm sure maybe I missed it, or I don't know, or I'm sure they'll come up with one. But I don't know of any details on that. I do know that there will be the Pro Series Championship, which, again, I may have missed it, but I don't know any details about that. I'm kind of waiting on that because that's where the money that's not being paid out in those entry fees are going to that championship. So really, that's really where you need to be. To make it viable for you, because you know, for like me, I got third and I think I won $900, which was basically a little bit less than what I bought in for 4 events that I'm guaranteed to fish this year.
Yeah.
So if I don't win anything else, I'll still have that shot at the championship to take home probably a substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
Which, just depends on how many people enter throughout the year. But that's where your big payouts are going to end up being at, is at that Pro Series championship.
Yeah.
Now, does anybody get to fish it that is in the Pro Series, or is it a certain, like the way you?
I don't have the answer to that, unfortunately. I don't know if it's been put out or not, but yeah, I would assume they were. I just don't know. I don't have the answer.
Yeah,
to that.
I was just wondering, because that's the only thing, because I looked at that, when I was entering, but I just didn't know, just in case I was able to fish any or whatever, because I know that there's different packages. You can enter for 2, 6, 3, however many that you want.
Yeah, they had a little deal going on the whole package, and that's what I ended up doing. And because I wasn't going to fish the one at Santee, I was going to do all 5 for the Northeast. But since I haven't been that confident fishing at Santee, I was just going to kind of go down there, fish the trail, try to get some points, and I wasn't going to worry about the Pro Series. And I was like, well, you know what, might as well do it. And again, I'm glad I did, because anytime there's a, I would have missed out on $900 extra.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's you've done really well. What was the event you was second in last year? Was that that was a championship?
Yeah, the Trail Series championship. Yeah.
So I mean, you've had a really good successful. I just look back for people that don't know. Me and James went to school together, and we all went to school with Casey. And just kind of looking back, I mean, you never thought that this is where we'd be at. You know what I mean?
Like, for sure.
People you hang out with, and me and James fished all through high school, but I never knew you fished.
Yeah. Well, see, I didn't really fish growing up through high school. I was more into getting into trouble and stuff like that. Which getting into fishing early on would have saved me a lot of trouble. I knew that. But I mean, I fished when I was real young, a little bit here and there. And I mean, I enjoyed it, but then like high school came, and like I said, got into trouble, just not really, whatever. But I got back into it a few years after high school, and been doing it ever since. And then 5-6 years ago, got into the kayak, and never looked back, man. Been having a blast since, and I love it.
It's addicting. It's just the entry fee stuff, even if you don't do the tournament side of it, just going out fishing in a kayak is addicting, because you can go to places that you really don't want to put a bass boat or any of that, you know what I mean? And it kind of brings you back to grassroots. That's what me and James have talked about when I won to James River and he was second. That's where we grew up fishing.
Yeah.
Like that, when we had James's little V-bottom John boat, that's where we grew up fishing. So, when we get back to fishing that stuff, it brings back memories. You know what I mean? It's grassroots fishing. So, it's, and we used to run that boat all over some Mountain Lake, and God almighty, we had so much fun in that thing. And that's what we dreamed of.
Yeah, we about died in it about 10 to 15 times. So.
Yeah, but, we're still here to tell the story. But I remember we used to put in over at Waterwheel when that ramp was still open, when the tournaments were going on,
Yeah.
You got all these, at the time, probably $40,000 bass boats, and we're back in this little 12-foot V-bottom in, right in the middle of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, but that's what we wanted to be. We wanted to be like him guys and do that. And then we get to doing it and had a good time, but now we're back to what we started out with, and it's just, it's very addicting. But when it comes to the tournament side, it's addicting because, for one, it's like Major League Fishing. Until you cut the board off, which I can't stand it. I just want to let you know. That really bugged me. But it is fun. When you come in, you're like, oh, man, nobody knows. And I get it. But when you're really hammering them, you're like, you want to know what everybody's doing. But it bugs me. I just want to let you know. But
I'll be sure to cut it off a little earlier.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. It's cut off. God, why did you do that? But it's addicting because you can see where you're at. I know when I fished Smith Mountain Lake, we fished there earlier this year at a Magnum Point, and the West Smallwood would catch one, and I'd catch one. And there for a while, we were like top 3. But, I mean, we're catching 14-inch fish. It ain't nothing big, but we're back and forth.
Yeah.
I'd post one, and I'd check you update. Oh, man, I'm ahead of him. And then when you go to put your next fish on, he's ahead of you, and you keep doing it. It's addicting, man. Like, I try not to even pay no mind to it anymore because I think it changes how you fish a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like some people just won't look at it at all. Like I got a story, Brian Aliff, Jody's tournament fishing partner. It was Santee Cooper last year. You know, I'm looking at the leaderboard. I see Brian's leading it, and it's the end of the tournament. He's won it. I see Jody first. I'm like, man, Brian smashed him today, right? He's like, hey, don't tell him. He doesn't want to know. And Brian will not know where he's at until the awards, basically. Like he just doesn't want to know. He won't look at the leaderboard all day. He said it just gets in his head and, you know, makes him fish differently.
Yeah.
See, for me, I feed off of it.
Yeah.
Like if I see even, I mean, granted I haven't been leading a tournament and been looking at it.
Yeah.
That may be a little different come that time.
Yeah.
But like when you're right up there, or even if you're 15th place but you see you still have that shot of getting up there, like it just makes me grind more.
Oh yeah.
And it you know it really feeds me, and
yeah.
I love looking at the leaderboard and kind of seeing where your friends are at too. You know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm smoking this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Like, but might not be winning it, but I beat him, so that's all that matters now.
Yeah. We've done that. You know, we'll be talking to each other, and I'm like, man, Dustin Good ain't posted nothing yet. You know.
Yeah.
And Jane's like, I don't know, man. You think he smashed him? I'm like, he always waits to the last minute to post until he gets a limit or something. It seems like a good limit, you know. So when you see him down at the bottom, you're like, Jesus, what's he got, you know? But it is fun. Like, I do feed off of it too, because let's just say you're catching 16-inch fish. Well, as a tournament angler, bass boat guy, anyways, you know, a 16-inch fish is like a 2.5 pound fish, something like that.
Yeah.
That'll do okay, but you need them 4 and 5 pounders, you know. But if you can look at that board and say, well, dang, I'm crushing them with 16-inch fish right now. You know, you might be kind of on the right thing.
Yeah.
You might be making adjustments for bigger fish, but you know, if you're catching 12-inch fish and you're crushing them, you're like, well, man, everybody's struggling today. You know what I mean? But or you can say, hey, this ain't gonna cut it today. This might get me 20th. You know what I mean? So it is a good tool as well to help make adjustments for the day and kind of see where you need to be at. But I know, like Chickahominy, when I thought I crushed it at the end, you know, I'm like, I was sitting there and I don't know, I was like 12th or something, you know, and I was like, man, the way the inches were spread out, all you really needed was like 3 or 4 inches to get in the top 5. Yeah. So now you start thinking, all right, well, man, all I need is a 17-inch fish to call out a 12-inch fish I got, or 18-inch fish call. So, I mean, you start playing into them things, you know what I mean? And you start doing the math in your head. It's a good tool. And people that fish tournaments, some people like to see it, like you said. Some people don't. But it can be a good tool if you use it right. Yeah. You know, so.
Yes. Kind of speaking of tools, like when I was at Santee, I just caught my big fish. It was 21 3/4, I think. And, you know, KBF does a hourly big bass pot. So I knew it wasn't going to take the daily big bass. So what I do is I'll call Dustin up. I'll be like, hey, Dustin, look at the leaderboard and tell me what the biggest fish is submitted for this hour. Yeah. And he was like, oh, Ron Champion submitted a 22 1/4 or something. I was like, all right, I'll wait till next hour to submit it, because it doesn't go on when you caught it. It goes by when you submit it. So I waited till the next hour, submitted it, and ended up winning the hourly big bass.
Oh, wow.
So that's a little strategy for that that you can play into.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, Dustin was like, man, looking at this leaderboard, dude, all you got to do is, you know, basically get a limit. And so I had 3 fish at that point when I caught that. And, you know, I went around grinding, trying to get 5 fish. And, you know, it didn't happen until the last 30 minutes of the event. Yeah. But I was able to get a limit and actually upgrade twice within the last 30 minutes. And so that did it to me. But it was, again, looking at that, being able to look at that leaderboard and be like, okay, because at Santee, you never know. I mean, if it was a good day, the fish that I had wouldn't have done anything, even with the good kicker fish.
Yeah.
But it was a tough day, and so what I had was actually decent with getting a limit. So
yeah.
So without being able to look at the leaderboard, you might never know that would be a decent bag on that day.
Yeah, that's right. It keeps your confidence up. You know what I mean? And know to keep grinding.
Yeah.
But James, Chris, we ain't got nothing coming in, do we? No. It's kind of slow tonight on the question board, but that's all right. James, you got anything else for Casey tonight before we end the show?
No, I don't. I thank Casey for coming on, though. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's fun. It's good to see the studio and.
Yeah, I mean, look at this magical place.
Yeah.
It's just magical. But
some of these baits might be walking out.
Yeah, I got to keep Casey. I got to escort him out.
Yeah, I was gonna pick these up earlier. They're talking about all the stuff you had, but this is about a quarter, not even a quarter of what's sitting right here in front of me. And I can barely pick that up. I don't know what's in there, but
a lot of good stuff. And then I got my drum.
Don't worry, if he puts it all in his kayak, we don't have to worry about anything. It ain't going nowhere.
No, I ain't going. That's why we get trolling motors this year. We have to push that stuff. I ain't paddling all that weight around this year. But yeah, that's what I was talking about. Asking Greg about packing light. That's what we're trying to do. Figure out how to pack light. I ain't quite figured it out yet. I don't know, but we're getting it. We're getting there. So, but guys. I appreciate everybody listening tonight. I know we've had some technical issues with Skype, and when Greg Blanchard was on, the service was just crazy horrible. But I mean, we still could make out a lot of his conversation. So, Casey, I appreciate you coming on. If y'all got any questions for the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge, Chris, I got the schedule. Do we still got the schedule on there? There you go. Yeah, we'll pull that up. There's the schedule for the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge. Check them out. If you can't make them all, at least try to make one of them. If you can't make any of them, just make one of them. The guys are really great guys. Everybody has a good time at the end talking, with some competition in it. Everybody just has a really good time. So make sure you check that out. If you got any questions, you can contact Casey. You can contact Brandon. And I mean, y'all got some great sponsors coming in again this year to help out with prize packs, and I know you're still working on some Angle of the Year stuff and all that, but you got a lot of great companies that are coming together recognizing the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge. So
yeah, we sure do.
But like I say, go check out Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge. You also have a website.
Yeah, search us on Facebook, Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge, and then our website for it is kayaktournaments.com/VKBC. And that'll also have all the details that you need to know for the events. I know some people don't do Facebook or whatnot, so that's a way they can find us as well.
Yeah. So go there, check him out. If you got any questions, ask them. They'll point you all in the right direction. But check out all our sponsors, guys. We got some really great sponsors to help us do this show. They've helped out with our giveaways, which we also still have that going on right now. We'll be ending that, I think, next weekend, ain't it, James?
I think so.
I think it's next weekend. So all you got to do is go in and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, share the video, like the video, and I think for extra, you got to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for extra entry, you had to hashtag OneObjectiveBF. Instagram, it's a little bit different. To be honest with you, I can't even remember how I put it on it because I know you can't share that well, not unless you got a special app on Instagram. So just go in there and check out the details. All you got to do is subscribe, and we're going to be picking from our followers that have subscribed to our YouTube channel. So go check it out. Go check out all our newest videos we got. We got some more stuff. We got some how-to tips from James on some stuff for bona fide kayaks for some of the projects we've been working on. And we got some big things coming for OneObjective this year. So make sure you subscribe so you can stay on top of it. Casey, you also got a YouTube channel as well with a lot of great tips on rigging kayaks and DIY.
Yeah, I got a few good videos up. Now, I don't got a whole lot like you guys have, but I need to work on it and get a little better. But yeah, it's youtube.com and then +Casey Reed Fishing.
Yeah, so go check him out. You got just stuff on making battery boxes and doing some.
Yeah, just kind of a bunch of random stuff. I got like the motor install when I installed the Minn Kota on my Predator. Some rigging some lights up. Just a bunch of random stuff. Some hog trough tips. Just how to get it lined properly and bunch of little things. So check that out.
Yeah, go check them out there, and then please go down in the comments. Go check out our sponsors. Please support them because they support us. So just like I say, make sure you check them out, guys. We'll be talking to you later. We're going to have something lined up for next week. I don't know yet on the show, but I know it's going to be something good because it always is. Remember, at the beginning of every show, I always say we got a great show lined up for you. So I know it will be good. But and then after that, we're going to be on about a 3-week lull when it comes to the show. But the Classic, we're going to have a pile load of videos.
Yes.
Your phone's going to be going off all the time with alerts that we just come up with a new video because we got a lot planned for the Bassmasters Classic coming up. We leave not next week but the week after. So we'll be starting with Media Day on Thursday around noon. So we got a lot of great content coming in for that. Hoping maybe one of us, me, you, or Dad, can get out on a boat ride with one of the pros on the final day. I love the final day. The first 2 days, the final days, it's just blasting off on the final day with one of them guys, man. I know that we don't have a chance of making the Classic anytime soon, so it's just fun blasting off on the last day with them guys. So we're going to have a lot of content coming for that. And then we got the Virginia Kayak Bash, the KBF coming up. So we talked with Chad Hoover. We're going to be doing some interviews with a lot of you guys down there that are doing well, and some other guys that are just down there fishing, So we're going to be having content coming from the KBF National Championship. So, and also some vlogging that we'll be doing, trying to post here and there a couple of days while we're down there. So we got a lot of stuff coming, man. And I'm just really excited for March and April, and then fishing season kicks in. Then we got all them videos there coming in. So
yeah, it's going to be a busy year.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's about to ramp up, and me and James can feel the stress now of everything happening. So but other than that, guys, y'all have a great night. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll talk to y'all next week. See y'all.
All right. See you.